The camera opens on a cold morning somewhere in the American Southwest. A desert wind-swept plain stretches to the horizon, and in the silence before sunrise, rows of heavy military trucks stand like dark silhouettes. The hum of distant generators is the only sign that this empty field is about to become one of the most important test grounds in modern military history. A single soldier steps out from a command vehicle, rubbing the sleep from his eyes as the first orange streaks of dawn rise over the desert floor. His name is Sergeant Michael Hayes, a man who has spent 18 years in the Army but has never felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders the way he does now. Today he is not just part of a test, he is part of a transformation, one that could change the strategic balance of power across the world. Inside the operations tent, large screens flicker to life. Satellite links stabilize. Communication networks lock in. Analysts lean forward with quiet intensity, coffee cups trembling slightly in hand. The LRHW, the long-range hypersonic weapon, the system known in whispers as the Dark Eagle, is minutes away from a full-scale simulated mission exercise, one designed to prove something bigger than technology. It is meant to demonstrate deterrence, precision, speed, and the ability to reach what no existing ground system can reach. But long before this morning, before these soldiers gathered on this cold ground, the story of the LRHW began with frustration that America had fallen behind in the race for speed, for distance, for strategic reach. Hypersonic weapons had shifted from theory to battlefield reality, and rival nations had made bold claims of their own capabilities. Engineers, strategists, and military leaders knew they were witnessing the beginning of a new era, one in which speed multiplied power just as much as size or quantity. At first, the idea seemed almost unreal, a weapon that could be launched from the ground, boosted through the atmosphere, separating into a gliding vehicle that could travel faster than 5 times the speed of sound. A weapon that didn't simply fall along a predictable ballistic arc, but maneuvered, adjusted course, and struck with precision after traversing distances that normally required bombers or fleets. A weapon that could cover thousands of kilometers in minutes while avoiding the web of sensors and interceptors that traditional missiles struggled to evade. That was the ambition behind LRHW, and now it stood tall inside its protective canister, resting quietly on the transporter erector launcher like a predator waiting for the moment it would leap. As engineers in the program often described it, LRHW wasn't simply a missile. It was a message. A message that the United States would not allow distance to define vulnerability. That speed and stealth would redefine deterrence. That the future battlefield would be shaped not by how many weapons a nation had, but by how quickly those weapons could reach their targets before an enemy even registered the threat. The test director, Colonel Rebecca Grant, a woman known for her calm under pressure, steps forward and taps the radio attached to her vest. Her voice is composed, steady, and carries the authority of someone who has spent her entire career pushing boundaries. All stations, this is command. Begin Phase 1. Immediately, the desert awakens. The tail hydraulics hiss as the launcher tilts upward. Soldiers inside the tactical command center start their synchronized checks. Satellites reposition overhead. Tracking radars pulse quietly like the heartbeat of the operation. There are no reporters here, no spectators, just the quiet resolve of people who know that what they are doing today could echo through decades of global strategy. Sergeant Hayes glances toward the launcher, watching as the massive canister lifts toward the sky. He has seen thousands of rockets in simulations, but seeing it in real life, feeling the tremor of the machinery, the vibration of the ground is different. It feels alive. It feels like the future has opened its eyes. The voice of a junior analyst fills the speakers. Telemetry locked. Guidance interface synchronized. Communications stable. Inside a distant monitoring center thousands of miles away, another team watches the same data feed. These aren't soldiers, they are scientists, aerospace engineers, and experts who have dedicated years to the hypersonics program. Among them is Dr. Alan Pierce, the man who once wrote the fundamental equations for glide body trajectory during his doctoral work. For him, today is not just science, it is vindication. He whispers to himself, barely audible, all these years, we're finally here. The scene shifts to a flashback, the early design labs, nights filled with equations scrawled across whiteboards, prototypes being tested in wind tunnels that roared like hurricanes. Engineers argued over the curvature of the glide body, over heat tolerances, over material resilience as temperatures exceeded those on the surface of the sun. Every calculation, every simulation demanded perfection. Hypersonic speeds allowed no margin for error. At Mach 5 and beyond, the air itself becomes a violent force, a wall of friction and energy pressing against the vehicle. If even one tile cracked, one joint weakened, the entire payload could disintegrate within seconds. But they persisted. They refined. They rebuilt. And slowly, through thousands of failures and hundreds of breakthroughs, the LRHW began to take shape not just as a weapon, but as a symbol. Flash to the present, Colonel Grant raises her hand. Initiate countdown. The speakers crackle. A robotic voice begins. T-minus 30 seconds. A quiet settles over the desert, tense, heavy, electric. No one speaks. No one moves. Hayes feels his heart pounding, not out of fear but awe. Every soldier here understands that this is not a weapon of aggression. It is a weapon of prevention. A weapon meant to deter conflict, to ensure that no adversary miscalculates, to guarantee that distance never becomes a weakness for the United States. T-minus 10. Dr. Pierce closes his eyes, almost in prayer. 5. Colonel Grant's jaw tightens. 3. The desert holds its breath. 1. What follows is not filmed, not heard outside the secure perimeter, and not released to the public. But the simulation data is enough. The trajectory confirms stability. The glide profile meets expectations. The satellite relay tracks cleanly. The strike window lands with precision. The team exhales in collective relief. It is only a test, no warhead, no impact, but the system behaves exactly as intended. The future unfolds a little more clearly in that moment. Later that evening, as the sun sets behind purple ridgelines, the soldiers gather near a mobile field table. They talk quietly about the day's success, but none of them brag. They understand the scale of what they're part of. A weapon like LRHW doesn't belong to one unit, one branch, or one nation. It belongs to the evolving dialogue of global security. It stands at the crossroads of power and restraint, of ambition and responsibility. Sergeant Hayes, leaning against a Humvee, watches the horizon fade into night. He thinks about his children back home. He thinks about the world they will grow up in. A world where threats travel faster than sound, where national borders mean little to technology, where peace depends as much on readiness as diplomacy. He hopes that this system, this Dark Eagle, will never need to be used in real conflict. He hopes it remains a guardian, not a weapon, a deterrent that ensures peace through its very presence. Thousands of miles away, in a windowless room inside the Pentagon, an advisory meeting begins. Senior leaders gather around a table displaying maps of the Indo-Pacific, Europe, and strategic hotspots around the globe. Analysts explain how LRHW batteries could be deployed to defend allies, deter aggression, and complicate adversary calculations. Every general in the room understands that hypersonics alter more than strategy, they alter behavior. Across the ocean, foreign analysts take note. Some worry. Some adjust their own plans. Some speed up their own programs. The presence of a ground-launched hypersonic capability changes the invisible mathematics of conflict. It forces planners to reconsider long-held assumptions. It demands new strategies, new doctrines, new countermeasures. And in that recalculation lies deterrence, the silent power of preparedness. Weeks later, the first operational battery is transported to a remote training installation. Soldiers practice rapid deployment, how to drive the launchers into concealed locations, how to coordinate satellite uplinks, how to maintain readiness in any terrain. They drill in silence, mastering every step, every connection, every safeguard. At one point, as Hayes oversees a training exercise, a young recruit named Morales approaches him. "Sergeant, can I ask something? If this weapon is so powerful, why do we need it? I mean, what exactly are we protecting?" Hayes looks at him, thoughtful. "We're protecting choice," he replies. "We're protecting the ability for our leaders to negotiate from strength. If we're weak, our enemies get bold. If we're strong, they think twice. Peace isn't just about treaties. It's about making sure no one sees an advantage in starting a war." Morales nods slowly, absorbing the weight of the answer. Across the training grounds, the launcher stands tall against the cloudy sky, silent, unmoving, but powerful in its implication. The LRHW is not a tool for destruction alone. It is a tool for balance, intended to prevent conflict through certainty. Months pass. Another exercise begins, this time involving Allied forces across the Pacific. The U.S. Army deploys the LRHW system overseas for a joint readiness drill, drawing global attention. Nations watch the